Good morning to everybody. We will start now the session, and as he mentioned, we will speak about IDN in Africa, but before that, we will have the global view with Dr. Sarmat Hussein on IDN, and then Fat Batene will speak about the Middle East strategy, and also the TF, ADN, and Tariq will go further on this point. And finally, I will give the floor to Don Hollande for the universal acceptance. I think it is not necessary to recall the fact that Africa has many languages, and since many years we are trying to bring those languages on the internet and to use IDN in Africa, because languages are vehicles for culture, identity, and those things are very important for overall development. So it is a big stake we have here for the future, for the contents, for the local contents, and for the local industry. We have had some initiative in Africa. The first one was the IDN Africa Unicode, the Unicode Africa initiative that we didn't really achieve completely, but that was the first tentative. And also during the many workshops during the WESIS, I would recall, for example, the workshop on African languages and the internet at the WESIS preparatory meeting in Bamako, 2002, and lately the IDN workshop in Pointe Noire last year, where some of you were there, and we are going to speak of this also, as there are some results and there is a way forward to have things to move and to change. But before we go in those details, I will ask Dr. Sarmat Hussein to take the floor and to set the stage on IDN.
Thank you, Pierre. So I will talk today about the IDN TLD program at ICANN, and in a way present how community is actually very deeply involved in the process to help define the top level domains in different scripts and languages. But before we go into the details, I just wanted to give you an overview of the IDN program itself at ICANN. So we are actually involved in three major areas. We are working at top level for supporting top level domains in different scripts and languages across the world. We are also working at second level, more in a way that we provide guidelines for second level operations. And then obviously we are active reaching out to the community and communicating not only the progress of the work, but engaging the community to get involved with us so that we can undertake all this work. Today I'm only going to focus on the top level domain program and go in some details of what we are aiming to do and where we are. So just by ways of introduction, Obviously, a domain name has multiple parts, and most of the focus of ICANN's work is at the top level. And then we are all obviously very familiar that top levels are generally divided into two categories: the country codes and then the generic top level domains. Talking about top level domains more specifically, generally the internationalized domain names, the domain names have been defined by what is called LDH principle. That is, the label is formed by a combination of letters, digits, and hyphen. And that's a generic definition of what a label is. However, the top level domain names, for some reasons, limited to only letters. So top level domain names cannot have digits or hyphens or other characters in them, even in the ASCII world. When domain names were internationalized and actually additional scripts were allowed, that distinction between the rules of forming general labels versus labels at the top level was retained. So what we have is this letter principle, which is applicable to top level domains. What this means is that the top level domains especially must be formed solely from letters in a language. And that's easier said than done, because when you move out from the core Latin, core ASCII characters A through Z, and go into complex scripts which not only have core letters but they also have marks and many other categories of graphemes, it becomes a little confusing on what really should be defined as a letter. And therefore this letter principle, it becomes a little hard to categorize. So that was a question which was faced by ICANN many years ago when top level domains were starting to be rolled out. And so what ICANN actually did was undertake a very extensive study back in 2011, where they actually, the ICANN went back and looked at 6 scripts initially: Arabic, Chinese, Cyrillic, Devanagari, Greek, and Latin, and wanted to find out what are really the issues involved in defining the letters. And then in addition to just definition of letters, there was also an issue that some of these letters, at least to naive users of the script, seemed to be the same. So they were what was eventually labeled as variants or variant letters. So all those issues were initially studied in the first phase of this project back in 2011. And there were issue reports which were developed for each of these scripts. These issues report, as a second step, were integrated into a single report which defined what the problem was as far as this letter principle and variants were concerned for different scripts. Based on that problem, the community got together and defined a set of solutions to address these problems. And there were multiple studies which were taken up. There were actually 2 main outcomes of that third phase, where basically the community said that obviously ICANN is not in the business of determining what is right or wrong or what is out or in with respect to a script or a language. and that obviously is best done by the community itself. So the way to do this for defining rules of what should be defined as a letter or not, and what should be a variant character or not, should be done by this community, script community, which is actually using the script and the language in question. So based on that, there was a procedure which was developed, which said that ICANN will coordinate and support what will be eventually, or what are now eventually called generation panels, or panels for each script. And those panels will constitute of community members coming with various expertise, including linguistics, technical background, policy, and also community representation. And these panels will formulate, and they will come up with the solution for their particular script. And then based on that solution, that will be integrated by ICANN into a larger pool of rules. So you can, there would be a panel for each script. Each panel will work individually on that script. And then there's an integration panel which ICANN would host, which would integrate inputs from all the different panels into a single solution for the root zone, which will then help define the valid top-level domains and their variants. The second thing which came out of this process in the third phase was that since there will be many linguistic rules coming in, and eventually what we need is something which has to be parsed by machines, so that somebody can put in a label and check whether that label is valid or not, given the rules of that script. So what was needed was a formal mechanism to represent this linguistic data, which was being developed by the panels. And that also started another project in which an XML formalism has now been developed to represent all this data in a very formal mechanism, which is automatically passable by machines. So based on those two suggested solutions, we embarked on the implementation phase. The implementation phase has now focused on getting these communities together to define the solutions for their scripts, and then encode them into this extensive set of linguistic rules in XML format, which we normally now call label generation rules, or LGR for short. And each community is answering 3 questions, which are listed at the bottom of the slide here. These questions are given all the possible code points in that script, which particular code points should be shortlisted to be allowed to form top-level domain labels. So in other words, what qualifies as a quote-unquote letter in a particular script to follow the letter principle for top-level domains. And whether there are any variants or variant code points which should be considered same, even though they're encoded separately in Unicode standard. And then whether there are any additional constraints forming the labels. These additional constraints basically pertain to different writing systems which sometimes do not allow a random or arbitrary sequence of code points or characters, but requires some in a way particular predetermined rules on how these characters can actually join together. So for example, a combining mark must be followed by a normal character in which with which it's combining to, and it cannot occur by itself. So basically the task of the generation panel or panel for each script was to shortlist the codes or code points or letters which should be allowed from the larger pool of characters which are available. This actually summarizes the work which has to be undertaken by the generation panel. So Unicode obviously has all the possible characters. Those are shortlisted. Some of them are allowed, but some of them are not allowed based on the IDNA 2008 Internationalized Domain Name Standard, which was put forward by IETF. But this was generally applicable for second level as well as top level. So since it's more liberal to restrict things to just letters, more work needed to be done by the panels themselves as a shortlisting process. So this is an example of work which came out of Arabic script generation panel. They looked at, so the white code points are those, actually all of these code points are in the Unicode standard. And those which are pink or yellow were shortlisted by IDNA 2008, and then eventually this maximal starting repertoire, which was a starting point of this discussion. And then eventually, as you can see, the Arabic generation panel, we'll talk about that in more detail during this panel, suggested that not all of these characters and code points were valid, and shortlisted them based on their usage and some other requirements. They also identified different variants. So if you look at the two calves, these are the K sound in Arabic script. The green one is used for many languages in South Asia and Persian. The red one is it's a K sound as well, but used for Arabic language. But if you look at the two labels at the top on the right hand side, that's an IDN CCTLD for Pakistan with a K sound. And when it can be written with either of the two, but visually they are identical. So they are therefore variants of each other. So variants of code points were also identified in this manner by the task force Arabic generation panel. And then they also identified some additional rules. Example of a rule given here is that the two calves, when there are two K sounds in a single word, you can write it with a Persian keyboard, for example, or an Arabic keyboard, but it is not possible that you can write a label with the first K in Persian keyboard and then switch the keyboard in the middle and then write the second K with the Arabic keyboard. So any basically consonants or this particular K sounds which are mixing the two calves, any labels which are mixing the two calves are not valid because of usability issues. So those were the kind of rules which were developed. We obviously need to do this for many other scripts. This is showing part of the Ethiopic Unicode. And there is actually now work going on in Ethiopia on shortlisting what are the valid code points, as well as whether there are any variants or additional rules which would need to be developed to handle Ethiopic script for top level domains. So based on that work, I will also in a couple of slides later share what the status of the work is, but before going into that detail, I also wanted to share update on the tool which is being developed for the LGR. As you remember, this tool is so what we have is actually a couple of things: a specification, LGR specification, and also to encode that data, and then we actually developed a tool which will take this XML encoded linguistic data and give us, tell us a couple of things. First, whether if I, as a community user, type in a label, it tells me whether it's a valid top-level domain name or not based on the linguistic data provided, and it also lists all the possible variants that label may have, again based on the linguistic data provided by the community. So the specifications are being converted into a standards track RFC at IETF these days, and so it actually encodes the linguistic data. There's a short example which is given here. And then the tool is now available, and I can share details with you if you want to access that. The tool allows you to create an LGR in XML format in a very user-friendly way. Also allows to use the LGR, meaning that once the LGR has been created and loaded into the tool, you can then type in a label and it tells you based on that LGR, what's a good label or a bad label. And then there are also some maintenance functions. So for example, you can compare two LGRs to see what are the differences, or add two LGRs to make a third LGR, and so on. So that work's still going on, but the tool is now available for community to use. This is the overall process. So we have multiple generation panels doing their homework on their relevant scripts. Each of those panels make a formal proposal to ICANN. We integrate that after the work has been completed, and that integrated version of label generation rules become the rules we use to develop top-level domains for the root zone. So this is a general status of where we are. Two script communities have actually finished their work. Arabic and Armenian scripts are done. And Khmer and Lao scripts are, script communities have very recently finalized their proposals, and they are now having final discussions with the integration panel. And then, as you can see, there is work going on in Latin script, Ethiopic script. Both of these scripts are relevant for Africa, and then obviously many other scripts across the globe. The first version of LGR is now out. As I just said, Armenian and Arabic scripts basically submitted their proposals in mid-year last year, and based on those proposals, they have been evaluated by integration panel. Arabic script was integrated. Armenian script was not integrated because of its cross-script similarities with Latin and Cyrillic and Greek scripts. So basically the integration panel is going to wait till the Latin and the other three panels have made some progress to make sure that what Armenian proposal is suggesting is in line with what other panels are considering as well. Since we have to have a single solution for root zone, we cannot have multiple varieties of these solutions. So there's also at top level, currently there is a manual process which is being used to develop top level domains. So top level domains are still possible, but in both the categories we have the top level domains. These are examples of the top level domains which are already been successfully evaluated through what is called the fast track process for CCTLDs, and then there are also some top-level IDNs which have been successfully evaluated and delegated through the new GTLD program. So I'll basically end my presentation here. This is not only to obviously inform you about what's going on as far as the top-level domain program is concerned, but also to invite you to join the efforts. Even though Arabic generation panels completed the LGR work, Fahad and Tariq will share with you what else is going on with that. There are more projects which are underway. In addition to that, if you're using Latin or Ethiopic, those panels are still active, and you are very welcome to join that effort as a community member to guide us on how to formulate those rules for those scripts. And there's some contact details in case you want to get in touch with us. Thank you very much.
Okay, nous remercions donc Sarmad Hussein pour cette présentation. qui nous permet de voir tout le cheminement qui a été fait depuis la réunion ICANN de Melbourne en 2001, parce que c'est là où le board de l'ICANN a mis en place un comité IDN, et à partir de là, il y a eu le protocole IDNA. Et puis maintenant, bon, le travail qui s'achève aujourd'hui avec toutes les procédures qui sont mises en place et qui ont permis donc à 39 CCTLD d'être sous l'IDN. Et cela nous montre qu'il y a du travail qui est fait, et nous voyons qu'il y a beaucoup de choses qui sont faites en dehors, disons, de l'Afrique. Mais avant de venir à l'Afrique, nous allons demander à Fad Batene de nous parler de la stratégie du Middle East, donc du Moyen-Orient, et aborder aussi le groupe TF-AIDN avec son mandat et puis comment devenir membre.
He will obviously call for some volunteers, as Sarma has said. Because so you have the floor. Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Je suis Fad Batene, je travaille pour ICANN.
In the Middle East, we actually have a strategy similar to the Africa strategy, and in fact, we actually walked in the same footsteps as the Africa strategy when the region decided that it actually needed a strategy to strengthen its engagement with ICANN. And so actually our regional strategy had three strategic goals, if you may say. One is to actually enhance two-way communication between the regional stakeholders and ICANN. The other one was to develop the domain name industry in the region. And the third was to promote multi-stakeholder internet governance models within the region. And frankly speaking, the issues that we face in the region, in the Middle East, is extremely similar to the ones you face in Africa. And of course, the strategy working group back then consisted of 22 members from 10 countries. Both Sarmad and myself were actually community members back then, and we were also members of the Middle East strategy. One of the key things that the members of the strategy felt that, let's say, the regional community had to tackle, of course with the help of ICANN, was this whole concept of Arabic script IDNs. And it's worth differentiating between a script and a language, in that a script actually consists of several languages. And in the case of the Arabic script, I think there are hundreds of languages that actually use the Arabic writing system. And of course, I think the Arabic script is one of the most complex scripts in terms of the fact that there are many languages under it, and even like within the same language, you would find that different communities or different countries use words in a different manner. Yesterday evening, for example, over for dinner, both Sarmad and myself were having this discussion. So here in Morocco, for example, when they write taxi in Arabic, they write it using a ta. But like I'm from Jordan, and in Jordan we write it with a ta. These are two different words. Sorry, these are two different letters. But and in terms of Arabic script IDNs, I mean, if you come to Morocco, it actually gives you the same meaning. So this is the complexity and the diversity of Arabic script. Of course, we don't say that the work on Arabic script IDNs started with the Middle East Strategy Working Group. Work started on Arabic script IDNs way before that. I think it goes back to 2005. There was a pilot project actually within the region to promote the usage of Arabic script IDNs. And before ICANN actually announced the IDN CCTLD fast track program, where actually countries could have their IDN CCTLDs installed into the root. Within my region, there was this pilot project where they actually had 3, let's say, root servers that would actually resolve IDNs, of course, provided that you install some certain plugins into your software. There was also this Arabic script IDN working group, which actually had several meetings to kind of push and promote the work of IDNs. In 2011, actually, ICANN announced the variant IDN project, and they actually took on board 6 scripts. One of them was actually the Arabic script. And funnily, back then, neither Sarmad nor myself were actually were ICANN staff. We were actually community members. And Sarmad actually led that working group. And the work of that working group actually later on fed into the work of the task force on Arabic script IDNs. Now later on in 2013, specifically in October 2013, the task force on Arabic script IDNs was announced. It actually happened at the second edition of the Arab IGF in Algeria. And to be totally honest here, actually it was Sarmad, in his capacity as a community member back then, shepherded the initial efforts of this task force, and of course later on even the work of the task force. The task force at the moment consists of more than 30 members from more than 10 countries, I think. They speak within them more than 10 languages that use actually the Arabic script. Some of those folks actually don't even speak Arabic or even any of the Arabic script languages, but they actually have expertise on Arabic script IDNs, or let's say some of the different aspects that some of the different topics that the task force is going to tackle. So when the task force was inaugurated, they had a mandate, and of course some of the things they agreed to tackle was issues such as label generation rule set at the domain at the TLD level, which Sarmad a while ago explained more about. Also LGR at the second level, topics related to universal acceptance of Arabic script IDNs, Arabic script internationalized registration data protocol and practice, technical challenges around registration of Arabic IDNs and variants, operational software for Arabic script IDNs registry and registrar operations, DNS security matters specifically related to Arabic script IDNs and variants, and finally technical training material around Arabic script IDNs. And this is not a comprehensive list really. I mean, it was agreed that when the group moves ahead that they might actually come out with more topics to tackle. So now, fast forwarding to 2016, the task force have met 3 times. Today is day 1 of their 4th face-to-face meeting here in Marrakesh. All their meetings have been for 3 days. They only had one meeting where they sat for 5 days actually tackling topics related to Arabic script IDNs. Of course, they were the first group to submit LGR1, which is LGR at the TLD level. They are currently working on 2 new topics. One is LGR at the second level, and the other is universal acceptance of Arabic script IDNs. Of course, they are focusing more on issues related to Arabic script IDNs because the group felt that if they progress with work on universal acceptance of Arabic script IDNs, they can actually resolve many of the pending issues that actually exist on LGR at the domain name level. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the group is tackling many languages. Frankly speaking, one of the weak points within the group is tackling Arabic script languages used in Africa. So if you can speak any of the African languages that use the Arabic script, or maybe you have contacts or people who actually use and are well versed in these languages, please speak to me, please speak to Sarmad or even to Tariq, and kind of point us to these people, because we really need more expertise. At the end of the day, of course, the goal of the task force is to make their work as comprehensive as possible and as reachable as possible to as many people who actually use the Arabic script in their daily lives. So that's really the work of the task force, and that's it for me, really. Thank you.
Merci. Donc là, bon, nous avons vu donc dans la stratégie
strategy, they created a task team of 30 people that worked on the IDN with the 10 countries and 10 languages that use the same script. We have the privilege to have Tariq with us, who's part of this group, and he will be able to talk to us a little bit more in detail the work done by the ITF at the IDN. Tariq, if you are ready to take the floor, you can go ahead. So we're now going to Africa. We went from ICANN worldwide to the Middle East, and now we're coming to Africa. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, next time. I will try to focus not just in Africa, as he said, just global, but I will start about why IDN is important for us in Africa. And this, I think, it's a very important issue. We have to cover it, to talk about it more, to convince people in Africa, the CCTLD, many years that people works on the DNSs, why they have to go to IDN, why they have to start it now. To start from the beginning, IDN is very important. Why? Because now internet is the mind, the memory of the world. It's all the history now is the internet. All fashions of books, and they will be diminished, will be finished few years or maybe 10 years, 20 years in the future. You will not find everything not stored in the internet will not be kept for our children, for our people in the future to know about it. So we have to think about why we have to use the internet in our language, because we have to create content, because we have to reserve our history, our culture, our everything to our future, to our children. We have to store it, and to do that we have to use our language. You cannot use other language to talk about your culture. It will not be so that easy. You cannot. You have to use your language, and it's not just. Someone may say that browsers are supporting languages, different languages, different scripts. Why we have to go to IDN's domains inside? It's enough, but many of people don't speak English, don't speak, they can't even write the domain. And those people, in fact, they have a very large of content that should be on the internet. They have a blog, now they have some restriction to use the internet that they don't, he says, I cannot even write the domain name. So he will not try even to access the internet. He will not try to create website. He will not try to put his content, what he knows, his knowledge, his history in the internet. Because there is some restrictions. When the browser supports the language, one of the restrictions has gone, but still they can't use it there. So to reach more people to use the internet, to restore, to create content, we have to go to IDN. this first thing. Using the internet is, as I said, it's very important for our country. And we have to go, I think there's a lot of people talking about 3 billion, 2.4 billion now using the internet. If we want to go to 4 billions, we have to break this restriction, this block, and make the internet available for everyone in the local language, even for the domain name, for the IDN. IDN project is it's just one of the projects. A lot of projects have been created by the ICANN to reach more people on the internet. And a lot of people in Africa, I met them. He said, "Yeah, I don't need it now. Why do you think I use IDN? I don't need it. I can go and use the internet using Latin script, using the similar way to write the URL now." But let me give you an example. I worked for a steering committee to apply for .arab and .arab in English, .arab in Arabic, IDN, for the Arabic countries. I was part of the steering committee. And when we tried to apply for it, we faced a lot of problems. One thing that they said, you are not a country. You are a group of countries. You are not defined as one country. You cannot have a CCTLD called .arab. So it should be a GTLD. You have to go to the new GTLD program. You say, it's okay, we can go. But you can't have it as geographic-based domain GTLD. Why? Because your Arab states is not recognized in the ISO list. So what should you have to apply as a community-based new GTLD? And when we ask, for example, .eu, .europe, it's a CCTLD. Yeah, it's a CCTLD, and it's for all Europe. Yeah, and they don't even have to pay $185,000 as we paid in to apply for .arab. We pay twice because we apply for .arab and .arab. Yeah, they don't have, they just have to pay about 30,000. For Europe, pay 30,000. You have to pay double, twice, 185. And even as Dr. Sama said before, it's optional. They don't have even to pay this 30,000. It's an optional. So why this happen? Because we don't think about the future in Arab. We don't go to get our name in the ISO list. We don't do a lot of. We don't think about just when the time come and we need it. It's too late and we cannot do it at the same time. So I am saying the same things for Africa. Don't think you don't need this IDN domain. You will need it in the future. And you will find it's difficult. It will come a time you will need it, and you don't have you have to start from the scratch to do it. Think for the future, for your children, and apply for your IDN even if you don't think you need it now. I will talk about what we have done in the Arabic task force for AIDN. When you apply, when in this GP, there is a lot of things this GP have to take care of. For example, for this will be done for any script. You know that in Africa, a lot of people say in Africa there is just two big scripts, Latin and Arabic. Arabic for the countries in the north and all the others using Latin. That's not correct. There's other scripts. There is an Ethiopian script used by two countries. So it's not just a language script because it's used in different two countries and different two languages. Ethiopic, Amharic and Tigray. A lot of other small scripts, about 5 or 6 or even more scripts in Africa, but if they apply for it and take care of this script, it will be reserved for the future. If not, it will die. And internet, I say, it's the memory of the world now. Yeah, to create your GP, generation planning for your language, you have to take care of a lot of things this GP will have to work for. For example, you have to work for the principles, for the Unicode. What principle should you use to include this Unicode or not use it? You know that Dr. Salma talked about some principles to include some Unicode in the root zone. Like example, you can't use letters, digits. You can just use letters, and you can't use hyphen. A lot of these principles. So the GP, which will take care of the script, have to go through principles first. The principle to use to include a specific Unicode, and here there is a lot of things to think about in the principle. You have to go to the variants. I don't know about other scripts, but in Arabic script, for example, we face a lot of problems in variants, as Dr. Sam, and this increase the job, our job. This is what we have to do to solve this problem, to make them allocatable or blocked variants. And of course, there was a big push and press from the IP for integration panel to be more conservative, so that to be more blocked, to have more blocked variants than allocated variants. And this will help for stability, for your domain in the future, and for the security. And as Dr. Sema says, there may be some domains have the same visual shape. You cannot differ. So variants, you have to go through variants to take care about this, so as to stop phishing and spamming in the future in your domain and to be more stable. And every language have their special cases for Unicode, of course, and they have to take care of those special cases. And we face some special cases in our task force, in the Arabic task force, and we go. There is other way also to deal about it, like whole label rule. It's not just about the character, is it acceptable to use it in our domain or not? It's the whole label can generate a rule from it. Maybe to think about it, if this Unicode is accepted on the first of the label or not, you can go this level and generate rules taking care about the Unicode and its position in the whole label. And this will help a lot in the future on the stability of the domain. When we were looking for some problems, some restrictions in Africa, and you know that Arabic script is not just for Arabic language. It's used for many other languages in Africa, like Hausa, like Swahili, like Fulfulde. A lot of these languages they used to use Arabic script as a primary script, but now it may be as secondary or as just a share as a major script. But when we tried to look for it, we found a lot of problems. Every African language they have to take care of about. Some Unicode we find, some characters they are using in their language, they are not even there in the Unicode list. For example, some languages using some characters and they can't type it with a keyboard in Microsoft in area, for instance, because they are not even there in the Unicode list. So they have to go through a long process to add. I had a visit to African University in Khartoum. It's a big university taking care of African language and a lot of things. And I found that they have books printed using this language and these strange characters. I asked them, how did you print these books? They show me a very old type of typewriters or something like that. They make to print those books in house and in Fulfulde using some special characters. So I said, why don't you type it to your printer. Something. They said, no, we can't find these characters on the in Word or in any operating system. What shall we do? I just recommend them go to the Unicode, try to add this code, to confess them, to talk about this codes. But adding new Unicode sometimes make problems. You have to contact your GP, the generation responsible for your script. You may hear that last year we in the Arabic GP face a problem with Internet Architecture about some new character added to the Arabic script. With Hamza and make a lot of problems, make us to go back to use Unicode 6.3 instead of go to 7 in the future until we solve this problem and make a rule for it. So adding a new Unicode, you have to make some coordinate and with your whatever, if you have a GP, if you have a task force, it's also for your IDN, just cooperate with them. And I think that's all I can talk about now, and maybe if there are questions, I will be very happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Merci, Tariq. Moi, je vais parler en français.
So Don Holland will talk to us about universal acceptance of IDNs. So this took place on November 26th and 27th in 2015, so in Pointe Noire, where the Africa IDN workshop took place, and which is the follow-up of the efforts that I mentioned pursuant to the World Summit in 2002, and the last meeting took place was in 2004, I believe, and it was for Unicode Africa. And so the project was to take note of all of the scripts and see which of these African scripts which are not present in Unicodes, because there are some characters used by linguists that are not in Unicodes. And at a certain time, I had the opportunity to be part of the Unicode committee, and it was an opportunity for the symbol, the C with the cedi, as it is called in French. It is in fact the currency, the Ghanaian currency, to be inserted in the Unicode with at this opportunity. There's also the Tifinak of Morocco, which was also inserted. However, we were not able to continue later on. So this is work that there's still a lot of work to be done, and this respect, as Tariq has said, it's important to have the characters already included in the Unicode and to be able to proceed and develop the local content and to be have this presence on the internet and to be accessible to all. So the 2004 project was also supposed to focus on keyboards. Where there weren't a certain number of characters, but this project was halted, and in November 2015, ICANN took on relaunched this project by way of this meeting, which enables us to gather engineers, because generally we end up meeting amongst ourselves within ICANN, but also linguists that were present, and we reached the conclusion that it was necessary to invest in the LGR group, which was about the Latin characters, because most African languages use Latin languages, but there are some written languages with Arabic characters, in fact, even in sub-Saharan Africa, which are written with Arabic languages, but characters, but for the most part it is Latin characters that are used, with the exception, of course, of Ethiopia. So it is very important for us to be present in this LGR panel on Latin characters to prepare ourselves to the different languages, to the presence of the different languages, and it is important in IDNs and for future development of IDNs. Also, with the Pointe-Noire meeting enabled us to meet and to continue to share experiences. This is also a call to volunteers that we're launching here. For those who are interested and that are here today, or if anybody knows linguists that might be interested by this issue, and they can also participate, and in order for us to have a dynamic group which covers all of the language issues in order to effectively contribute to the Latin panel within ICANN. It was also the idea was also brought up that we might possibly be able to think about the possibility of carrying out some experiments with an IDN, just like ICANN has already been doing with the DNSSEC, to support groups of countries, because generally most languages are trans-border languages, so they always concern 3, 4, or 5 countries, because borders, and which were inherited from the colonization, do not necessarily correspond to linguistic barriers or language barriers, and it is necessary to take this aspect into account in our approach to try to have some experiments in order not to end up in 10 years in the same position that where in 2004, from 2004 to 2015, well, things didn't really advance much. And as Tarek has underlined, today it is an emergency. Internet is everywhere. It's used in agriculture. It's used in health. It is used in all types of fields, and not everybody who speaks English or French or Portuguese, namely in sub-Saharan Africa. There are a lot of people. There's a great part of the population which will be an outcast, which will be outcasted if this initiative is not carried out. So I'm reiterating this call for volunteers in order for us to be able to move forward. I will now turn to Dawn Hollander, who will present universal acceptance to us. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. So impressed with the technology here. And we have somebody who can press the clicker. Thanks. So, Tenakato, hello and greetings from New Zealand. Just a quick show of hands. Is there anybody here who is monolingual in American or British English? So you only speak English, American English or British English? So one hand, two, 3 hands. So most people here will speak some language other than American English or British English, and it will be written with a script other than the ASCII script. So you will have if you want to go out for a coffee, you will go to a cafe. And if your cafe has a website, it will have a domain name, and if it was written properly, it will have a little accent over the E. So that is now possible. Isn't that marvelous? We can have Dawn's Cafe at whatever. So a little story just about me. I have a small bookshop in New Zealand. In New Zealand, we have 3 official languages: English, New Zealand Sign Language, and Maori. And Maori uses the A to Z, Z, how do you say it in A to Z? Z? Z. A to Z. And the vowels, they also have another set of vowels that are just like the English vowels, but they have a macron over them. So I have two websites, two domain names for my bookshop. One is called bookhaven.co.nz, and the other is called naipukapuka.nz. So pukapuka is the Maori word for book. The nai, N-G-A with a bar over it, makes it plural. So it is books.nz. And I have an email address, toa@naipukapuka.nz. The problem I have is I cannot engage with the New Zealand government, New Zealand banks, New Zealand insurance companies, local government. I can't register to pay my taxes online with my Maori domain name. I think that's wrong. It is an official language in New Zealand. So that's just a little bit about me and some ways why this is important to me, and hopefully we can get this solved for others. And one last question. How many of you have a domain name from the latest round of GTLD domain names? I do. So a few. So I have a .tech domain name. I have a .technology domain name. .tech has 4 characters. It actually works in many places. .technology has many characters. It does not work in so many places. So there's lots of opportunities. So now what I'm going to try to do is just give you a brief introduction to Universal Acceptance and the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. Look at that. So this is where we're at, where we're going, and how you can participate. So the Universal Acceptance Steering Group is a community initiative aimed to address the universal acceptance issue, which has really been around since 2001, but really became a problem in 2010 when the IDN CCTLDs started coming in, and became a big problem in 2013 when the new GTLDs started coming in. So there was a group from around the world who got together at the ICANN meeting in Singapore just a year ago and created this group called the Universal Acceptance Steering Group, and its goal was to do something about it, which is kind of hard. But this group exists. It is a community group. It is supported by ICANN. It is not an ICANN group. So we have people from all sorts of places around it, most from the ICANN community, but some people are participating who actually have no interest no big interest in ICANN. Right. So what we've done is we now have a definition for universal acceptance. This is what we're aiming for. So universal acceptance is the state where all valid domain names and email addresses are accepted, validated, stored, processed, and displayed correctly and consistently by all internet-enabled applications. So this is pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and technically it's not terribly hard. Our challenge is really to go out to the 34 million software developers that exist all around the world and just ask them to start doing things right and to fix the existing systems that they have. So pretty easy task. Any software developers here? 1, 2, 3. So I've already addressed part of that 34 million, so I'll just cross those out. So we have created some documentation. We have a domain name called uasg.tech. The problem is you have autocorrect, which changes it when you try to type it. It turns into usage.tech, but it's uasg.tech. And so we've got that set up. We've got some documentation just about done. We have numbers. So we have a knowledge base. We have a webmaster engagement letter currently in 7 languages. So if you encounter a website that doesn't support your email address or you want to use it to register, we have some standard simple words that you can, it's about a paragraph, that you can copy and send to them. It's very polite and say, could you please fix that? And that's available in 7 languages. And if people would like to add more languages to that list, be happy to have that. We have a UASG 003, which is the fact sheet, which is aimed for the everyman. Actually, it's aimed more for CEOs, ministers, senior government officials, but it's in, try to get it in plain English, and we're now working on translations for that. And if anybody wants to volunteer to translate that into another language, let me know. Happy for that. We have some use cases. So this is a list of about 12 domain names with different characteristics. So there's some ASCII.long, so UASG.technology, for example. We have ASCII.unicode, ASCII.punicode, all sorts of different characteristics, including Arabic. So I was quite proud a few weeks ago to have registered my own Arabic domain name, which is a challenge for somebody who doesn't speak or read or write Arabic. We have a quick guide, which we're just publishing this week. We'll go through that in more detail during the ICANN meeting. These are quick guides aimed at CIOs, system architects, to help you figure out how to make your systems universal acceptance ready. We have a list of the relevant RFCs. We have a big document called The Introduction to Universal Acceptance that will finish its first detailed reading on Sunday. That is a very technical document. And then we also have a document called UA and Local Engagement for people who want to figure out how to set up their own local engagement operation, because it will be easier to reach the 34 million software developers if you could do it locally rather than from a global perspective. So these are some of the things that we're currently doing. We're currently reviewing the most popular websites on the planet to see if they are UA ready. That is, you can use any email address to register for a service. And so far there is one that we have found that accepts all our email addresses, including the Arabic email addresses. We're starting a review looking at the largest software development packages and platforms, so things like Ruby, probably Ruby on Rails, PHP, C++, and I haven't programmed in a long time, but those of you who are software developers will know those are the things that we're looking at. And first thing we're going to do is look to see if they are UA ready, do that assessment, and if they're not, we're going to fix them. We're building the use case and test environment, so we're registering those 12 domain names that I talked about and the different characteristics, and we will plant some simple landing pages so people can see whether their browser actually takes them there, and if it takes them there, does it display things correctly. The hardest thing that we're doing is building an EAI community. It's not the hardest, but EAI is a challenge. And for those who don't know, EAI stands for Email Address Internationalization, so that you can use your email system to send an email address in using non-ASCII characters. And there are some challenging issues there. And the Arabic script is particularly challenging, not for the reasons these guys talked about, which scares me a lot, but that's in good hands. But if you have an Arabic.Arabic@Arabic.Arabic email address, which is your domain name and which is your username? I don't know, because when you type it in, suddenly it flips. And we're also planning a review of browsers and operating systems. So we've got a lot of stuff on the go just at the moment. So this is where I put my pitch in. So what would be useful for you and for us, for you guys to do to help? So the first thing is when you get home, find out whether your own internal systems are UA ready. So if you're a registry, does your registry software accept all the domain names equally? And does it accept email addresses equally? If you're a registrar, same system. If you have some other role in the DNS ecosystem, when you get home, talk to your software people, or if you are the software people, look in the mirror and say, are these things ready? So have a look at our quick guides and see if your systems accept them, follow them. And the biggest challenge, two big challenges in that space is, one is when you validate an email address or a domain name entered into a system, are you using current validation criteria, or are you using validation criteria that's 10 years old? So do you accept domain names that are only recently entered into the root? Do you accept domain names that are more than 7 characters or that are 5 characters? Or do you accept domain names in other languages, and email addresses, the same sort of thing? And can your partners do the same thing? So if you're a registry, talk to your registrars and see if they can do them. Or if you're a registrar, talk to your registries or your resellers. So go up and down your community chain. And in terms of registries and registrars, what about IDN name servers? How are you storing that information, and how are you displaying it when you do a whois lookup? And looking at your accounting system, registration system, if you're a membership-based registry, what about your membership system? Or your accounting system, your newsletter subscription system? So just look at the systems that you have and see, does it support them? We'd be delighted if people wanted to launch their own local universal acceptance initiative. So we've got 33,990,000 and change people to talk to. But if you talk to it locally, that would be really useful, because you'll have better engagement with your local banks, insurance companies, e-commerce companies, government, tax officials. I don't know, don't worry about the tax people too much, but so we have a guide on how to do that. And as you do that, let us know what you're doing so we can cyclically improve our own systems, yeah? So that's what I wanted to talk about and to ask you to participate. Getting your systems UA ready is not hard, but it is effortful. And we've been hearing for the past year from ICANN's CIO about their process. And they reckon it's a 18 to 24 month project. And they have particular incentive to get this fixed within ICANN. And they are putting resources into it. But it's not particularly hard, but it is effortful. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for letting me come in at such late notice.
You are welcome, because you have added something very important. Yeah, very important. The implementation. Yeah, because there was a big problem at the beginning with the IDN, the complexity. Was very complex, but the community have found the way to solve the technical aspect and some political aspect also with the language and everything. But now to have it to be implemented and used everywhere, this is another challenge, and have talked about that. So we have a complete picture of the situation. And I don't know if Sarma wanted to add something? No? No, nothing? Okay. So now that you have a complete picture of this issue, you can now jump in two ways. Asking question, I think that you will do that soon, and also volunteer, because there is a lot to do. There is a lot to do, volunteer, and also get other people that are not in that room and that will never come in that room to volunteer for the different groups, as they are definitively interested by and concerned by the issues, but they are not going to come to ICANN meeting, Afrinic or other tech meeting, you know. But we need them to come and to help so we can have the internet to be for everyone, because all the languages are equally treated on the internet. And the stake also is the mobile internet, where we have people who are not going to speak French, Portuguese, or English during their life, because you cannot send them back to school for that. And they are using the internet on the mobile, and it is getting, you know, wider and wider usage. And then we have no choice than try to catch up. We are late, and we need a lot of volunteers. But now for the questions, with the light I can see. Okay, I have seen one hand. Only one question. So it was clear. Everything is clear. I'm not surprised because, because this question have been very, very complex. And I remember when John Clanson was warning the community at ICANN Melbourne on the complexity of the IDN coming in the system, you know. I think he was right. Because since 2001, and we are 2016, we have not yet finished, you know. And I think that we have more work for the next decade, maybe, in order to finish that. Okay, so we have only one end, Yaovi. Okay, please stand behind Yaovi.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is not a question, but it's a comment. I'm also very surprised because I think we have a lot to do, especially in a sub-Saharan African region. And we have a lot to do, but it's like we are not moving. Like if we talk about IDN, most of the time in the meetings, we talk about local content in local languages. But IDN is not the case. But I think, I'm sure that we have to do something in our region. Like we can see in some region of Africa, we have same languages within many countries. But my comment is like a call again, because when you go back home, you have to inform people about IDN. It's like we don't have, it seems like there's nothing to do, but I think it's a lot to do, because we have to check these languages, those who are using the Latin script, most of the languages in sub-Saharan Africa or other regions of Africa. We have to go back and tell people, linguists, language specialists, we have to talk to them and to let them know that there is something we need to do. During the presentation of Dr. Samad, we see many people have started working. Like we can see Chinese, they have we have a big progress. We have now the Arabic script, and then we have recently in Ethiopia people who have started forming this panel. So it's a call. So when you go back home, you have to let people know that it's good. We talk about local content in our languages, but IDN is also very important. Even if the result we are expecting to achieve in 50 years, we have to start out something. We have to talk to people to inform them. This is just a call. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Elkins. From a registrar point of view, my user interface on my registrar system speaks both UTF-8 and Punycode, so I can see the XN dashes and all the rest of it as well. But from my point of view, what would really help me would be a library that I can send a bit of Punycode to that returns yes, this is valid, or no, this is not. Dr. Samad, you had a URL there with a tool on it. Is that tool actually what would do the job? And I'd love to see that slide again.
Yes, so that tool is, it has eventually going to be 4 functions. I'm going to be talking about that in a little more detail during the IDN sessions on Wednesday at the ICANN meeting. But just to overview that, it has, the first function is create, which means that you can actually use an existing IDN table and import that into an XML format automatically if it's already in one of the RFC formats. It's 4290 and 3743. Or you can actually create one from scratch. And it's a normal user interface where you just add the code points, variants, and it automatically generates an XML for you. So the idea is to give you a very community a very easy interface to develop IDN tables in a reasonably complex format at the back. The second, as you can see, use case is the use LGR, which is exactly what you're talking about. That once you actually have an LGR defined, you can load it up in the tool. And then you can give it any particular label, and it will tell you whether that label is valid or invalid. And in addition to that, if it is a valid label, it will also tell you what are variant labels for that particular label, given the LGR which you have put loaded in. So it uses the LGR to actually create those definitions. The third is manage LGRs. This particular one, as I said, allows you to compare 2 different LGRs. So for example, if you're switching from one LGR to another LGR, one IDN table to another IDN table, and you want to see what the difference is, you can do a difference between 2 LGRs. You can also add 2 LGRs to create a third one, which takes care of larger namespace and so on. And then what we are also doing is the last phase of this work is a label collision interface. And what this does is that if you have an existing set of registrations and you want to add an LGR or add an IDN table in your system, it actually checks those existing registrations and tells you whether any of those will get invalidated or become variants of each other or collide because of addition of an LGR into the system. So you can do some diagnostics on the impact of introducing an LGR. This, as the last point says, we are currently finalizing testing this tool. It is available online for everybody's use, but in addition to that, we intend to release the whole tool as open source by the end of this fiscal year, so that it is available for everybody to integrate it directly into their own systems. So you are welcome to come use the production system online. It's currently password protected, but we are going to be sharing the password during our presentation at the IDN session, but you don't have to wait for that. Just email me and I can share that information with you.
So from a developer's point of view, I don't want to go and create LGRs or point code rules, etc. So all of those will be available for download as well? Somewhere.
Yes. So LGRs are not developed by ICANN. They're developed by the registries. And there's an IANA repository for second level LGRs, and the top level LGR is actually getting released directly by ICANN. So that was the first version of it was released 2-3 days ago. And as that, which only currently has an Arabic script, but as other script communities finish their work, newer versions of LGRs will be released as well. And we released we release it in a package of 3 documents. One is the XML, which is actually the technical LGR. There's an HTML view of that, just so that you can read it more easily. And then there's a supporting document which explains the details of the decisions and what's in there. So it's a reasonably comprehensive set of package which goes into it. So top level root zone LGR ICANN is releasing directly, and second level LGRs will be released by the registries themselves, but we obviously do have a repository at IANA which you can go to and use those tables.
Thank you.
Thank you. Merci. Je vais parler
French. I'm Olivier Kwame. I'm from Togo. I have 2 questions. In Togo, we have many local languages. 2 that we can write, Kabe et Lewe. However, the Lewe is spoken in 3 countries: Togo, Benin, and Ghana. If we want to be part of the IDN, do we have to consider that as a GTLD or CCLD? My second question, I know that we have an African language academy. What are the relationships with this academy and the IGN committee? We have started to reply to the question. The question of Olivier about the Liwe language in Togo. We spoke about cross-boundaries languages. And for reasons of competition between the British, the Portuguese, and the French, there's borders that divide them and divide, obviously, people that speak the same language. It's the case of the Lewe language. So it's what we call a cross-boundary language, and for that there should be a group working on the Lewe language. They should work on the script to see if all the characters are uniformed between the 3 countries, and if those characters are taken into account by the Unicode. Otherwise we have to act at this level and then go to the LGR panel for the Latin. So there's work to be done, and you spoke about the Kalang, but I would speak also about the Celto language. Some of you might not know. It's based in Niamey. Well, it's an academy that should have done some work on those languages and come up with a script. In the Lewe, we can find characters that are used in Togo, however, they're not the same in Benin or in Ghana. So there's a uniformity work that has to be done, and we need to simplify things. The Kalang, this academy, was part of the work done in 2004. The Kalang was very involved, but as I said, until Pierre Dangenou, who was the vice chair of ICANN for Africa, launched the initiative to have a meeting with the IDN within the African strategy. But now we need volunteers. And if there is linguists, language experts, and specialists that work on the Lewe language, they should work in order to simplify that based on the best practices of the other groups that encountered the same problems. So once you go back home, try to find some volunteers and come with the volunteers so that we can make progress. As far as this academy, the Kalam, it played a very important role. Currently, they are very active in the Maya group. However, the activities with the ICANN community has slowed down. So I'm sure that Yaovi heard the call. We are going to bring it back together. And thank you for raising this issue. I don't know if anyone wants to ask to add something to the African Language Academy. African Language Academia. Ce n'est pas c'est l'Académie africaine pour les langues. Akala. Akala.
And based in Bamako.
Yeah, I'm Pierre. I work for it or have some information.
Yeah, okay. Akalan. Okay, thank you. Oui, président.
Bonjour, je suis...
Nikoko from Côte d'Ivoire. My question was diluted in a way, but I'm here, so I'm going to ask it. In Côte d'Ivoire, we have about 60 languages. And no language is more important than the other. But with all those languages, as ICANN planned to support us in, I would like to know if there's any mechanism in place in order to support the countries where the languages have the same value, that there's no languages that is above the other. Thank you for this question. You know that ICANN, or the technical coordination of ICANN in charge of the protocols around the internet. But the question that you are raising here is a political issue, first of all. ICANN will not intervene to solve this problem. However, once you agree with your language, with the linguists on the script, then you can approach ICANN in order to go to the IDN. Even for the characters that are lacking in the Unicode, ICANN is not going to deal with that. There's a Unicode group with a committee for which you can subscribe. And when the Francophonie was part of this group, we had the government of Pakistan, we had India as members, and the others were big IT companies, IBM, Microsoft, etc. They were part of the committee. However, the committee is open to new members. There's a fee that has to be paid. I don't remember the amount, but it's not much. And it enables you to be a member and work for Africa. We went there on behalf of the French-speaking languages, on the Francophonie, to support all the African languages. but there's also perhaps 2 or 3 African states that are part of this Unicode committee. I think it's enough in order to raise the African concerns. And perhaps we can then insert the characters that we want into the Unicode list. Normally it's about 10 to 15 people that meet at the level of Unicode. So one country could represent the whole of Africa. We don't need to go there, all of us. So, and why not Côte d'Ivoire? Côte d'Ivoire could be our representative. And the community could use your country or go through your country in order to solve the problems that we have with the Unicode. I don't know if I replied properly to your question, but I will intervene at the end, not at the beginning, because often in the countries it's a problem of language balance, and each country has its own policies. I'm from Burkina Faso. We have 3 national languages that are the main languages, but there's others also, but that is a political decision taken by the citizens of Burkina Faso. Obviously, for Côte d'Ivoire, the decision has to be taken by the citizens as well.
I'd like to add to the response. Basically, first question which you need to consider is those 60 languages you're referring to, whether they are all written or not, because obviously sometimes there are some languages which are oral. And of those languages which are written, then the question is what is the script which is used to write those languages. So I'm actually going to just respond in the context of the top level domains and the LGR work which is being done in that context. So based on the relevant scripts which are being used for the languages which are written, I think there is a very low barrier to get involved in the relevant groups at ICANN. So you may have some of those languages being written in Latin script. They may actually be using characters which are not in the core English set for A through Z or ASCII set. Therefore, it is essential that we get input from those communities on the Latin generation panel so that we can support all the characters which are needed in addition to the core ASCII set. And to get involved, it's as simple as you just or somebody from that community writing an email to us and saying you're interested to participate, and that's all it takes. And we enroll you into that email list and the group, and you start participating in the meetings and contributing into the process. So it's not a high barrier to get involved at all. We really do want input from as many linguistic script communities as possible so that we can make a standard which is robust and supportive of as many possible languages. If you have a script, a different script for a particular language, you can start a new generation panel. And again, it is as easy as just somebody writing an email to us and saying that this is a particular script we want to support, this is how we would like to start the process. These are 6 to 8 people who are interested in sitting down and devising the rules for defining top level domains for that particular script. So please get involved, write to us, we will support you through the process. But eventually the rules and these recommendations must really come from the community to us. So I hope that addresses the part of question, the relevant part of question as well. Thank you.
Merci, Sarmat. We have to finish on time while we have started late. So what we will do is to take the two last questions, and we will answer to that and make conclusion at the same time. Okay, the two last questions.
Thank you, Pierre. Paulos, again from Malawi. I wanted to know the follow-up steps for this process where maybe at the top level we could start to see a mixture of Latin and other characters. What is the schedule within ICANN for allowing the next phase for mixed top-level domains?
Okay, this is Mohammed Al-Bashir. I have just two comments, not a question. I'm currently running an IDN CST registry, and I was part of the IDN guidelines working group. I think it's important that we set the expectations right, because we had huge expectations about the growth and volume of registrations of IDNs. The maximum registration volumes currently we have in IDN registries, I think it's about 5,000 domain names. So within the African and the Middle East region, globally, yes, there's success stories in terms of volumes. We have the Cyrillic IDN registration, which is past, I think, 1 million. I think it's important to put things in context about the expectations in terms of registrations as well. The other comment is about African languages using native African scripts. We have many languages using Roman scripts, but we have languages like the Amharic using its own script. So I think we need to encourage those language communities to come forward, because that is the change that we should be pushing for. So I think yes, it's important that we need to set the expectation right, and the work really in IDN is required lots of development in terms of application systems to enable it to automate. So I think that's the two comments from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Doctors, so much to leave now, so I give him the floor to speak first. Yeah. Huh? You don't have a comment?
Yeah. So I'd like to, I guess, again conclude what I said earlier, that we do want the community, especially the community from Africa, to be on our panels to represent their languages, so that these LGR we're developing for the root zone can support as many of these languages as is possible. And we do look forward to your active participation, and we look forward to and getting involved is not a very formal process. It's a very informal process. You just need to have the time and the intention to contribute, and that's all it takes. So we look forward to listening from at least some of you. Thank you.
Fat.
Yeah, thank you, Pierre. So I come from the Arab region, really, from the Middle East. And my exposure to Africa is really mostly North Africa. Unfortunately, I've never been to many other parts of Africa, which I hope would change, like in the future. Yesterday, I came across a gentleman from Chad, and he was talking to me in Arabic. I was completely shocked, really. So I asked him, I said, like, do you really speak this good Arabic in Chad? He said, yes, I mean, Arabic is one of the languages we do speak in Chad. So what I'm trying to say here is that, I mean, we kind of don't know what every community speaks in terms of languages, which communities speak the Arabic language, which community in Africa speaks the any of the Arabic script languages. And so we really rely on you guys to kind of reach out to the Arabic script community within Africa and encouraged them to actually join the work of the task force on Arabic script IDNs. And of course, I mean, I gave the example of Arabic, but then of course we do need more volunteers for the other script generation panels that are currently underway at ICANN. I guess this way we get everybody on board, nobody's kind of lagging behind, and we really, I mean, and having more people on board who actually represent more scripts and more languages can actually, at the end of the day, give us the best possible results we can get.
Okay, thank you. I think you have to leave now. Or what? Huh? Okay, so with them. Okay, so
sorry, but I have to leave also with them. But so I just want to say something. Yes, we are encouraging people and language in Africa to use their own script. We know that in Africa there is two dominant scripts: Latin, Arabic, but there are other scripts, and we are encouraging them to create their own GP. Like we know that a Subic script is now being added, and we know even there is also other languages using by Ahmadin or something like that in Morocco using Tiffany script. Yeah, it's very important to also. We know that we are focusing on the big scripts, but every language, even if it's small, has the right to be there to create their own GP, to go to create, to have their IDN in their own script. And yes, for Mohammed Bashir, we are encouraging them very much. Thank you.
Okay, may I add that the core language is using also the Arabic script. Yeah, the Arabic script.
But other also, some using their own scripts in Africa. They are really community, but it's their
ok. Bon, nous allons maintenant.
Do that in French. It's a very difficult and complex issue. That has been ongoing for 15 years since the meeting of ICANN Melbourne in 2001 when the committee was created. But even prior to that, ICANN, Yokohama, etc. had put this issue on the table. They called it the multilingual consortium, the MINC consortium, that was created in 2000 in Yokohama. A lot of work has been done since. The work has not ended. What is important to keep in mind is that there's a lot of work to be done in Africa for cross-boundaries, trans-boundaries languages before going to the IDN stage. But there's many groups that are open, be it on the acceptance side or the LGR side, to contribute to the work and to be ready so that the whole of Africa can use its own languages. This is very important for the future developments. So I would like you to join me to thanking the presenters, and we should give them a round of applause.